So this evening, we have the wonderful and the talented, I just call him Jim.
No,
The nicest,
accurate description. I don't know if the wonderful and the talented is, but I think you definitely got my name right.
the nicest man in the world is going to be leading us in the additional 3 Fireside Chat on financial literacy. So Jim, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. If everybody can go on mute, and keep in mind, if you do have any questions, you can always come off mute. But I'm going to put myself on mute and turn off my camera. So with that, Jim, I kick it over to you.
Great. Well, thanks very much, Karen, for inviting me to present. Yeah, we're kind of like just going almost like back to school with this. This is really designed to just talk about the essentials of personal finance. And this is considered really an open dialogue kind of. So if either of you have any questions, what do you think? It's probably best to like, maybe, is there a way to like raise your hand on this or something? Like if somebody has a question and they could raise their hand or type it in a little chat, and then we could maybe cover those questions at the end of each section, because we've got several sections in here. And then I'll also leave some time at the end too for us to have just some open discussion, because I'm sure people have questions, you know. And by the way, I'm surprised they don't teach more of this in school. Like when you're going through, you know, grammar school, junior high, high school, they should have more, I think, more classes on personal finance. Oftentimes they kind of let us out into the world and we have to figure a lot of this stuff out on our own. So, but this is part of the Growing Opportunities program, and it's financial literacy training. And as Karen said, this is the first of a 4-part series. So it's my honor and pleasure to be with you for all 4 of these sessions. Okay. So this one in particular, Mastering Personal Finances, we're going to be talking about understanding and tracking income, the basics of bank accounts, financial service products, providers, and a high-level understanding of taxes. All right, hit the next slide. So a little bit about me. My name is, okay. My name is Jim Chikaris. I'm kind of got some boring letters after my name. I'm a certified public accountant and also a certified valuation analyst. So I look at valuing businesses and that kind of stuff, and do a lot of accounting and tax and advisory for businesses. And I'm the founder and managing partner of a firm that I started 25 years ago called Apex CPAs. And we have 2 locations. We have one in Scottsdale and also one in the Chicagoland area. And yep, matter of fact, we're having our big event, our 25th anniversary event tomorrow evening. So everyone in the firm is very excited about that. You know, I started the firm in 1998 with like virtually hardly any money. And I had a small computer, and I had a cell phone and some business cards. And I just had, I think, just maybe a lot of like will, you know, just to want to work my way through it and find a way to make it on my own. And, you know, I obviously got an education in like kind of financial matters. And I always really enjoyed working with business owners. I felt like it was just the heart of capitalism, you know, you know, people who took all the risk and started their own business and just worked their way through. And so not only did I do that in my own business, but I got to essentially make a living at helping others do it themselves. So it's something that I just always really enjoyed and was passionate about. So as I said, it's a real privilege to be able to kind of share what, you know, whatever I know, if it's something that I can, you know, offer that might, you know, help any one of you, you know, and learn something, then that certainly was time well spent for me. So thanks for the opportunity. Let's go next slide. So here's kind of our agenda. We're going to work through really these 8 key areas. We're going to be looking at income and benefits, choosing how to get paid, understanding your pay stub, increasing income and benefits, coming up with a savings plan, and then a little bit on saving and asset limits, you know, as it relates to maybe some government programs that have some thresholds in place. Finding a place for savings and, you know, saving at tax time, right? So let's go ahead and hit the next slide. So income and benefits tracker. All right. I mean, who likes income? We all like income, right? I mean, income's a lot better than money going out, right? So we really like income. All right. So now everybody knows that, you know, those of us who have received a paycheck, right? We know that there's gross income, right? And it's like, wait a minute, you know, my paycheck, you know, I worked and earned $500. How come my paycheck is only 380, right? Well, the reality is that there's the net income component, right? Like what you actually bring home in your paycheck. And that's typically your gross pay, you know, minus you have taxes, right? FICA taxes, federal income taxes, state income taxes. Maybe you have insurance you have to pay and your employer maybe pays a portion of that. And then there's maybe other deductions that come out. Very important to understand what all those withholdings and deductions are. And we'll get to that in a future slide. So one thing that you can do for, you know, is really gather all of your pay stubs. It's good to have that. And any benefit statements from, you know, government agencies or any other sources. And we have a link on here, and we're going to forward this PowerPoint or this PDF to you. And these links are hyperlinks. If you click on them, it'll give you additional material. And then sometimes we have little templates in there that you can download and populate yourself. So you can populate the income and benefits tracker to gain an understanding of how much and when you receive income. If you want to click on that link, we can at least bring it up as an example so everybody knows. I think if you hit control and then click on it, that might do the trick.
It's not clicking, but I can work on that maybe for the next one. Hold on. Let me try to.
All right. Okay. But yeah, the version that we'll send out to you, it does allow you to click on this, and it'll bring up some templates that you can use to track all of your income and your various sources of income. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. We'll get into some more interesting. So choosing how to get paid, right? Now, oftentimes, you know, we may not have an unlimited amount of options on how we get paid, right? I mean, if we are working for somebody, they may say, here's your paycheck, come and pick it up at the payroll office, right? Or, you know, we may, you know, say, we may, you know, require you to, you know, or maybe if you own a little small business or you do something on the side, you have more flexibility. You could pay me in cash, you could write me a check, or pay by credit card or that sort of thing. But, you know, we have various options, ways that we can get paid. We can either get cash, right? Get paid cash. We can get a, you know, a paper check, right? Where they give us a check. And then direct deposit, which honestly, out of all these, that tends to be my most favorite, because anytime, you know, there's obviously some benefits to direct deposit. That's essentially where your employer, you know, they set it up directly in a bank account, you know, so you have to establish a bank account. And then they set up that direct deposit so the money goes directly into that account. Or payroll card, government benefits card, or EBT, right? Electronic benefits transfer. So there's also a tool on here that allows you to use, that you can review with your mentor on the various ways to get paid. And we're going to go into the pros and cons of these in the next slide. So let's move on to the understanding the pay stub. All right. Has anyone ever filled out a W-4 form before? You know, one of these fun and lovely tax documents. You know, anytime you see the word IRS or anything like that, doesn't it just make you warm and fuzzy? But basically what the W-4 form is when you apply, when you apply as an employee, right, your employer will have you fill out one of these forms. And this kind of dictates, usually they'll ask you, how many allowances do you want to claim, right? And so you know, that dictates how much withholding they take out. So if you're, say you're single and you claim 4 allowances, okay, they're not going to take out hardly anything. Okay, if you say that you're single and then you claim 0 allowances, they're going to take out a little bit more. All right. So there's kind of like, if you go into the book, it'll tell you kind of like how much they'll withhold based on your pay and everything like that. But we're basically dictating how much to withhold from the paycheck. Okay. So now at the end of the day, when we file our taxes, it kind of, the tax is the tax. So in other words, it's a pay me now or pay me later. If you want to withhold more now, you know, you'll probably get a bigger refund come tax time. If you withhold a little bit now, you'll probably get a small refund come tax time, or God forbid, maybe you owe a little bit. I mean, you certainly don't want that to be the outcome. So sit down and work with your employer or somebody that has a little bit of financial understanding to help you out, or maybe they've filled these out before. Or also, if you ever have any questions in the future on what to do, feel free to give me a call. So, you know, we can share my contact information. I'll be happy to help you through this form. Yeah,
Jim,
Jason, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question too. Jason, you go first.
All right. Nice to speak with you, Jim. So I've been running my business for a while now, but I've been inputting income into a bank account and setting aside income for my taxes. And now I'm almost 2 years in and I need to do, I've never done it. I'm like not frightened because I've set aside, but like, I'm just it's so stressful to know that it has not been done. And I just need to do it. I don't even know where to start.
So you're self-employed then?
Yes. And
Okay.
I also, so you mentioned like about how paying other people as well. I've paid guys cash, I Zelle them. And I'm in a comfortable spot, but I really need to get this taken care of so that I know I can set up my business for success in the future. I can't keep paying dudes every single day. I can't keep, thank you for sharing that, Emma. I can't, it's just stressful knowing that I haven't had it taken care of. I'm trying to get everything fully automated so I never have to see money again. I don't want to be responsible for it.
Yeah.
I don't even, the thing I'm good at is bringing it in and spending it. I don't want to.
Yeah. Well, as a self-employed person, there's a whole set of rules that relate to that. And
and it's scary.
Well, it is. Yeah. It's the Wild West out there when you're running your own business. No question. And I'm happy to take some of these questions specific to you, Jason, offline, and I'll be happy to help navigate through some of that. I'll give you maybe some recommendations on next steps.
Awesome. Emma, whichever Emma just sent his number, if you want to email it or however, or shoot it, whatever, that would be great because it's hard for me to get some of these information.
Sure.
But I appreciate your time and I'll let you go, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Jason, I'm going to send you his number through Messenger right now.
Okay. And Karen, did you have a question?
I did. So a long time ago, my ex-husband, this was in my 20s, always told me that you get more money when you like at tax time. But now I'm figuring this out 20 years later that I think I see here the pay me now or pay me later. Is that just like a farce that if you wait until you do your taxes, you get more money?
Well, you're right. It is a pay me now or pay me later. The tax is the tax. And at the end of the year, basically what the tax return shows is this is what you earned, this is what your tax is, and this is how much you paid in toward those taxes. The tax is the tax. If you paid
there's no like sneaky way around it.
No, right? Sneaky way. Well, there's
baby.
Yes.
There are creative ways. Let me put it that way. No,
right, but there's he tried to always tell me that if you wait and you do your taxes, you get more money back at the end of the year. But
you do, but then they took more out of your pay, so throughout the year you have less to live on.
Right. Okay. That's what my question was, because I feel like He duped me 20 years ago.
Here's the analogy I like to use. If you've got a balloon and you push one end of the balloon, the air goes to the other end. Like it doesn't change how much air is in the balloon. So this is really the same thing. It's whether you pay me now or pay me later. At the end of the day, the tax is the tax. So personally, for me, I like to stick it where I break even at the end of the year, because I feel like I can do more with that money throughout the year than the government can. And that's just my opinion. Some people like to pay in a lot to know that they're covered. They sleep better at night. And then they get this tax refund at the end of the year, assuming their tax preparer prepared it right. They get this refund, and that can really sometimes serve as a fuel for your savings account, where you kind of set that money into your savings every year. So it's like a forced savings account. So there's pros and cons to either way. It's just as long as you understand, and we're not going about it in sort of a naive way and just saying, well, I'm going to have all my taxes withheld so I get a bigger refund. Really, it's still our responsibility to understand the math. What is being taken out of the paycheck that we have earned? And then what do we expect to get back in return? And I've always been a big fan of saying I can manage my money better than the government can. Yeah. So that would be my approach. But yeah.
That makes sense to me. Okay. Thank you, Jim. Sorry.
Okay. One more quick question, Jim, if you don't mind. Okay. As a single, like small business owner, I'm trying to set myself up successfully that way as well. I pay myself a certain amount per week, and then I also set aside about 30% of what I paid myself. Is that a pretty safe number?
Probably. You know, okay. There's a lot. I think a lot. It's very individual. Like,
all right. Yeah, I'll definitely.
Some people might need to set aside more. Some people that might be more than they need to set aside. Okay. And again, that's something specific. And I'm obviously more than happy. We talk a little bit more specifically. I'm happy to do that offline.
Yeah, we'll do that. I apologize. Thank you.
Oh, no need to apologize at all. It's very good questions. All right, so study your pay stub, right? It all flushes out when you file your taxes. Pay me now or pay me later. This is something very important for those of you who are employees. All right, the number of paychecks you receive in a month can change, right? So if you're budgeting on a monthly basis, if you get paid every other week, there are going to be 2 times a year that you get 3 paychecks in 1 month, right? You've got 26 pay periods, right? But you have 12 months, right? So if you got 12 months and normally you're paid twice a month, that would only be 24 pay periods. But there's 26. There's 52 weeks divided by 2. So you have 26 pay periods, right? So 2 times a year, if you're paid every other week, 2 times a year, and it's usually in like December, it's usually in a 31-day month. And they're usually 6 months apart, but it kind of shifts a little bit, you know, a little bit, a week or 2 at a time. But you're going to find that in those 2 months, you're going to get 3 pay periods. That's a great opportunity for you to jumpstart your savings. Like take that 3rd paycheck you get that month, and maybe you don't have to take all of it and stuff it into savings, but set your budget as though you're living off of your 2 paychecks. But then set aside those 2 extras and do some savings with it, or pay off some debt, or do some things like that. That's something that I've always really embraced, and I think it's something that could really help us, you kind of fuel our financial freedom. Okay. Excuse me. I'm just getting over a cold here, guys. I apologize. Okay, next one. Increasing income and benefits. How do we make more money, right? We want to make more money. Well, we could do this in a couple of ways. We have one-time activities, and then we have regular basis, right? One-time activities. If you've got something that's got some value that's sitting around that you're not using, I don't care if it's a bike. I don't care if it's a pressure washer. I don't care if it's some old furniture or a TV or something like that. If it's got some value and you really don't need it, don't worry about how much you get for it. Get rid of it, turn it into some cash, and do something. Take an unproductive asset and put it into a more productive use. Doesn't mean just go and spend it on a lavish dinner or something like that, but take it from an asset and then put it into some other asset. Maybe it's a savings account or something like that. And then also at tax time, we have opportunities depending on our income level in our family status, if we have children, dependent children, or we're under a certain income threshold, that we would be eligible for, we get earned income tax credit, child tax credit, and also there's some really real opportunities in there that are largely driven by having enough earned income to qualify, but your income level is under a certain threshold that unleashes them all. So you could find where you had only maybe $1,000 withheld from your paycheck for the year, but end up with a refund of $3,000 or $4,000 or something like that because you qualified for some of these credits. So it's important to, again, understand, you know, the amount of taxes you're paying and the amount you're getting back and all of this. But whatever that refund is, it's a one-time activity once a year. Put it to good use. That's such a great opportunity to do that. Pretend like you never had it. On a regular basis, you know, we have some other options, right? We can get a second job. You know, we could start a small business. It sounds like kind of like what Jason's doing, you know, or we can look to see if there are any, you know, government programs that are maybe out there to help supplement us until we get back on our feet, right? So, so there's some options there, and this isn't an all-inclusive list. I mean, there's probably, if we sat here, we'd name a few more and that sort of thing. But I also got a link here too that will show like kind of different ways that you can earn income and kind of a little checklist or a brainstorm on how you might be able to go about thinking of some more creative ways to earn some additional income and benefits. Okay. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. Savings. All right, let me see. There we go. Savings. Okay. So there's like, I'm going to see if I can pull this thing up. I'm going to find it. 1 second here. All right. I know it's here.
Are you trying to pull up the toolkit, Jim?
No, I'm trying to pull up. So there's this book that I read called Atomic Habits.
Oh,
It's written by a guy named hold on a second. It is written by a guy named
Michael Burnoff or something.
no, I got it right here. Hang in there, guys.
James Clear.
James Clear. I was trying to remember his first name. All right. So, but his whole thing is when we think about atomic, usually we think of big, right? Atomic bomb, right? But this is more like atomic, like really, really small, tiny, making really, really small little adjustments, things that we can do to get the flywheel going, right? Get the momentum going. So creating atomic habits by taking small steps toward weekly savings. Maybe it's $10 a week, maybe it's $20 a week, and just be very disciplined. So there's atomic habits. The next one, has anyone ever heard of the term SMART goal? That term before, SMART goal,
Yeah.
right? So it's something that is almost foolproof. If you live by the SMART goal mentality, there really isn't anything that you can't accomplish, right? And the way you make a SMART goal is it's the acronym: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So in other words, I could say, I want to be a better golfer. Okay, I like to golf and I'm terrible at golf, but I like to golf and I'd like to be better. But if I say I'd like to be a better golfer, like if I don't improve my golf game, I really don't have anything to really, well, I wasn't clear on the goal. So it's like, of course I didn't achieve it. So I don't put that kind of pressure on myself. But if I say to myself, I want to break 90 strokes by the end of 2025, right? And so now that's a SMART goal, right? Because it's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable. It's not like I'm saying I want to win the Masters by, like next year, right? That would not be attainable, right? But it is relevant if it's something that's important to me. It would make me happier, and it's time bound. It says by the end of next year, right? So that's 12/31/2025. So it's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So now I tether to that, and then I set my atomic habits to do each week, and I work toward achieving that goal, and I track my progress. Because when we do that, now we're holding ourselves accountable. When we hold ourselves accountable, it's amazing at what we're able to accomplish. So you want to eliminate any reasons for you to take an exit ramp and say, well, I wasn't clear on the goal, so I didn't really work at it that hard. Once you put it out there that this is what I'm going to do, it's amazing. The likelihood of you achieving that goal goes up exponentially. Okay. So atomic habits, set SMART goals. Figure out how much you need to save and for how long in order to achieve the goal. So if you say by the end of 2024, I want to have $5,000 in the bank, you could back into it and say, okay, how much do I need to save each week? Let's also assume I'm going to get a tax refund at this time of the year, certain time of the year. I also know I'm going to get these extra paychecks these couple other months out of the year. If I sock away a portion of that, and then before you know it, it's like if I stick to this plan and I do the math, I get to $5,000, right? And then you kind of go from there, right? And then you could, now the next time you set the bar maybe a little bit higher, right? All right, and then you could brainstorm on ways to increase income and decrease spending, right? Maybe it's that premium cable bill, you throttle it down to basic. That might give you $100 a month or whatever. Okay, so and then there's always earning more, right? You have the try to go out and earn more somehow, right? Another job or part-time job, or sell some stuff that you might have and that sort of thing. So again, we have links here on ways to save. And then the real question is, where would you keep that savings if you got it, right? So let's go to the next slide. All right, and we'll get to places that you can, keep your savings, right? This one has to do more with savings and asset limits. So again, is there any way we could pull up the link on this one, or no? It's just not working, huh?
Yes, no, I can. I was just sharing a specific window, so I can.
If you click on the saving and asset limits.
Yeah, let me just.
Because what we're getting at here is like some states, for example, if they have government programs that are out there, whether it's, where they help subsidize rent, or they give you, food, vouchers or things of that nature because of certain income level, let's track all of those and at least have an idea of when those would sunset if you reach once you have certain assets, right? If somebody is a millionaire, it's not like they can, nor should they be able to go and get food stamps to help buy food and subsidize their groceries. So there's a certain level that, it's like the government says, we're not giving you that anymore. So it's important to understand what those thresholds are, because when you exceed those thresholds, then you might have like some additional things that you need to like now pick up on your own, right? But let me make this important point. If we go back to my other slide. So this is an example of, some government, subsidies and things. And then you could go and do your own research on what the asset limits are, or the income earning limits are on whatever those government subsidies are, so that you understand the thresholds. And the most important thing that I can say is please, 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 believe me, do not limit your potential by keeping your assets low in order to qualify forever. The program is there to help you get on your feet, so please use them. But your potential, your personal potential, is far greater than anything the government will provide you. So keep that in mind. How do I get out of that, right? How do I get to the next level? So that's just something that I've always felt passionate about, because I never wanted the government dictating or limiting what my potential was. And so the sooner we rip that Band-Aid off, the sooner we really get to a level of freedom that is beyond what the government can provide us. Okay. All right, next. All right, finding a place for savings. Let's brainstorm a little bit about, what are the pros and cons? So we have bank accounts, right? We could leave it with a family member or a friend. I guess that's one way to tell if somebody's really your friend, right? If you trust them with all your savings in a coffee can or something like that, right? Keep it at home, right? Maybe load it on a prepaid card. U.S. savings bond. I don't know. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, that's one that I've never used. I don't think I've ever owned a U.S. savings bond, but I'm not saying they're not good, but I think there's probably better options. But well, let's talk about what are the pros and cons of maybe having a bank account as a place for savings. I mean, I think the pros are pretty obvious, right? Anybody got any thoughts? Like, go ahead, Jason.
For me, it's been good. So like I mentioned, I have the money coming in. And part of the reason why I can sleep a little at night is because I know that everything is for my business it's all right there. All the all my checks, all my Zelle, everything's documented, all my, so that's one thing that I think the bank has helped me with. My credit has been poor in the past, and I'm trying to establish that, make that better.
It's safer.
That helps too.
Yeah, it's safer too, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's safer and it's insured, right? The bank is insured by the federal government. Some people might say maybe a downside to the bank is, hey, if I don't have a bank account, I have to go and open a bank account. If I need money, maybe I have to go to the bank. Although now with a lot of the online apps and stuff, right, you can link your Zelle or Venmo or whatever directly to that bank account, and you could do transactions without going to the bank. We are moving more toward a cashless society, I think. So, and then there's a family or friend, right? Like, I guess there's some pros and cons to that, right? Maybe the pro is, all right, I don't trust myself having all this cash sitting around, and so I'm going to give it to a family member. So they're not going to allow me to have access to it, right? Because they know if I do, maybe I'll spend it, right? So that could be a short-term thing, but again, there has to be an awful lot of trust there, though, right? I mean, an awful lot of trust. Keep it at home. I mean, you kind of keep an eye on it, but put it in a safe. But God forbid somebody knows that you have a bunch of cash in your house. I mean, that may not be a good thing either, right? And then prepaid card. I don't know much about like that, but I guess you could have like a card and just transfer. It's like a credit card, right? But you load it up with some cash, and then you could use it as a debit card on the prepaid. And then we talked about U.S. savings bonds. I mean, those lack a lot of flexibility. So I don't know that I'd be all warm and fuzzy about that, but certainly you could also take a little bit of money, and maybe if you know a friend or a family member who knows a friend that's maybe an investment person that can maybe set up a brokerage account or something like that. Or to Emma's point, a high yield savings account. That could be good, or a CD, certificate of deposit, that could be good, right? So,
I want to add something, Jim, if I can.
Sure.
So I will say with savings accounts, as you get your first bank account, or maybe you are on your fifth bank account, shop around banks. They are a business, and they're looking for your investment in their bank. I just went through this. I went through this at one point in my life, and now I'm going through it with my daughter. But, her first bank that she went to was Wells Fargo. And in my opinion, that's not the best bank. So she's now transferred her money to a different bank. You have options as a consumer. And also with your savings accounts. There are tons of banks out there, and now with the online market, you can decide to put your money into banks that maybe we don't have in Arizona, but they are, in New York. So there's a lot of different options that we have now that we didn't have, say, like in the 80s and the 90s and even in the early 2000s, that you can get really good percentage rates on your savings account.
Excellent point, Karen, for sure.
Yeah, you have so many more options now. and you're not limited. So just, do your research. Know that you are a customer and they want you as a customer. So your $1 is just as important as everybody else's $1.
100%. 100%. And out of all these options, I do think, just having it in a bank or a financial institution that is insured by the FDIC and all that, and, it has there's good online banking, there's good reporting. It's a good way to sort of chronicle and memorialize transactions. Banks are getting better and better at this. You could transfer money, you could do a lot of things. Like I said, you can link some of these finance apps to it where you're, rounding up and putting in savings and stuff like that. So I would really encourage anybody who doesn't have a bank account to really look at doing that. Okay, David, you have a question. Go for it.
Yeah. One of the things that I found out that I'm finding out recently is, like, me as being a gig worker for many years, I've always just stockpiled cash. Mm-hmm. And but one thing that I've learned, that I'm learning right now, is with starting an LLC and starting a business, even if you're using your personal Social Security number, instead of an EIN number, if we take that cash and we actually deposit it into the bank as a deposit on a regular basis, when you start your business, the more money that you deposit on a regular basis, the bank actually looks at that as an income. So what I'm finding out is that if I start putting everything into the bank, that showing as income, even like as a sole proprietor, like I had a window cleaning business also, I did, and I just kept all the cash. But if I were to put that into the bank on a regular basis, showing a regular income, it actually helps you for a lower percentage rate on loans and unsecured credit cards if you want to expand your business. So it actually benefits you to put the money in the bank.
David, that is such a key example. It relates to that other slide, where I said, about, don't limit your potential. In other words, people won't put money in the bank because they don't want to have to pay taxes on it, or they want it to go under the radar and pay low taxes. And I'm all in favor of that. And I think there are ways that you could go about paying lower taxes, but also putting the money in the bank so that you can do the things that you're talking about, get more credit. Here's an example. Okay, you put $50,000 of money that you have collected over the year, and you just set it aside as cash, right? Now, if you go out and buy a $50,000 work truck, but you have no reportable income, first of all, it's going to be hard to get a loan if you can't demonstrate that you have income. So that's point number one. Point number two is the IRS is going to look at you and say, this is what got, now I'm from Chicago, so everybody knows Al Capone, right? This is how they got Al Capone, right? It's like, how can you have all of this stuff and pay for all this stuff, but you have no income? And so when you go out and you buy that $50,000 vehicle, you can't really use that as a business deduction, because it's like, how are you going to have this deduction if you don't have any reportable income, which you probably wouldn't need the deduction because you don't have the income, right? But if you do it this way and you report all the income, then the bank looks at it and says, oh, wow, David's got plenty of income. He made $50,000 doing his business, and he wants to buy a vehicle, so he has income. So he goes and he buys this vehicle or buys this equipment, and now we can use the tax rules, those tax rules, to take a one-time deduction on that vehicle. Even if you finance it, you can write the whole thing off in the year you buy it. So you could essentially be in a situation where you report all the income. That's good for your credit. It's good for borrowing. It's good for the bank. It's good for the IRS. You're reporting all your income, so you know you're clean as a whistle. And then you use the tax rules to take deductions against that income to give you a fighting chance to grow in the business, invest in the business, and continue to grow and to grow and to grow. So it's kind of like getting off of that mindset of, if I report it, I have to pay taxes. All right, there might be some of that, but the positives way far outweigh the negatives by playing it the way that you're suggesting playing it. Because in the long run, like there's always some people, they pay you some cash and it's like, okay, kind of maybe it doesn't show up on the books anywhere. But you don't want that to be the core part of your business, because I think in the long run, it hurts you more than it helps you. So that's an excellent point, actually.
Yeah, and then also, when it comes to as far as government benefits, I made the big mistake of where, like, from 2018 to 2000 up until the middle of COVID, actually, because everything came to a screeching halt.
Mhm.
But I had 6 guys working for me in all of Maricopa County and Nevada, and parts of California, just cleaning windows, and I was paying them all cash, and I was taking in a lot of money, and I was paying them all cash. And if I would have put them on payroll and claimed my money, then when we had a problem during COVID, I could actually got the government benefits to help me out because I was legitimate.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
I'm learning that actually, and like you said about the Al Capone thing, it's like if you don't pay taxes, you can't keep your money. So if you don't nowadays, if you don't legitimize everything that you do, you won't actually reap the benefits that are available for you from the government.
You're constantly chained to stay under the radar. And you want to get to a point where you don't mind being on the radar. You're winning the game, but you're doing it within the rules. And now there's ways to understand the rules and use the rules to your advantage, right? And that can happen too, right? And so go ahead. You were going to say.
You're absolutely correct. It's the rules of the game. It's like as long as you stay within the rules, there's always little ways you can save money on your taxes. But you got to stay within the rules, because if not, when you break the rules, it all comes back on you.
Come on, you guys don't believe that the government's smarter than any of you guys, do you? Like, come on. Like, we're all really smart people. Like, I think sometimes people running government, they're like knuckleheads. We're smarter than they are. So we can play by their rules and still win. Okay. All right. Next, saving at tax time. By the way, that's just my commentary. Okay. I'm not, whatever. All right. Saving at tax time. All right. So I'm sure many of you, depending on the complexity of your tax return, some of you that have small businesses could be a little more complex, and there's all kinds of software out there that allows you to prepare software on your own. Oh, that's a nice looking dog. Is that a chocolate lab? Black lab? Yeah. Okay. I have a 4-year-old boxer. Yeah, I love dogs. Okay. Take advantage of tax-free services like VITA, right? That's the Volunteer Income Tax Association or something, and they provide free tax services. And so that's a feature too. That's an option too. And, self-prepared and that sort of thing. So there are programs out there. Understand the fees for paid preparers, and stay away from refund anticipation loans. Let me say this again: stay away from refund anticipation loans. Right? H&R Block got their hat handed to them in a huge lawsuit because of the ridiculous imputed interest they were charging. So they were saying you're going to get a refund for $5,000. We're going to charge you $1,000 fee, but we'll give you your refund today. So you're like, well, that's 20%. Yeah, but it's 20%. That would be 20% interest over a year. But typically your refund, if you do direct deposit, you'll get it in 3 to 4 weeks. So the amount of interest, if you calculate the interest on that, it was mind-blowing how much interest they were charging. So anyway, stay away from refund anticipation loans. Find a way to wait it out. If you file your taxes and you give your tax preparer your direct deposit information and they electronically file your tax return, the IRS has a schedule. It's typically 3 to 4 weeks, right? So let's wait for it. It's worth it. Get all your money. It's all your money. You should get it. Okay. Make sure you're claiming all credits and eligible deductions, right? Mortgage interest, real estate taxes, if you have those. Make sure that your tax preparer has all of your dependents, their names, dates of birth, their social security numbers, because depending on when they were born will dictate whether or not there's more credit available for you, okay? And then filing electronically with direct deposit, as I mentioned, will speed up your refund to about 3 weeks. And use your refund to pay off high interest debt or to jumpstart your savings, set up a reserve fund, any of those things. Okay. And like we said, it's a pay me now or pay me later. So if you're disciplined with your money, have them take out less money. So, maybe you break even, get a small refund. Just make sure you're putting that additional monthly income to good use, right? Or if you want to use it as a savings account, all right, they hold it for a year. It's not a big deal. But then you get this nitro shot once a year of this refund that you can also put to good use, pay off high interest debt or fund a savings account and that sort of thing, okay? And so again, each of these slides have a hyperlink that will take you to additional material and some templates and forms that you can use that will coincide with the material that I had in my presentation. I've got it on the final slide. One of my last slides is just a resource recap. So on all the slides, these are the links. So if you don't want to go to each individual slide, just go here. You could click on them all here on this slide. Okay.
And I wanted to add that all of these resources are from a toolkit called Your Money, Your Goals from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And they are all actually in the learning platform as well. So you can use Jim's slides that will be in the learning platform with his Fireside chat recording and the financial toolkit that's within the learning platform.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Next.
Jim, that was fantastic. I learned so much myself. So thank you.
I don't know, but good. I hope so. At least somebody took away at least one thing, But maybe any thoughts, ideas, questions? Anyone want to throw tomatoes at me or anything? It have to be a virtual tomato. So
that would be a great little emoji.
That would be right. You chuck a virtual tomato.
Tomato.
Right. Get them to stop talking. Get off the stage, you clown.
So let's open it up. Who has any questions? Jim is going to be available he's graciously making himself available for all of you. So if you guys do have any questions, you can either pass them through us, or I think we gave out your phone number, so you're going to start getting calls too.
That's okay. I'm happy to give some of my time to help any of you. So
yeah,
I can't wait to talk to you, Jim. Like I'm serious. I'm going through an expansion right now with a young man, and we're trying to figure out the numbers to pay him and do all these other things.
Yeah.
And to grow and to just get this all set aside so I can finally just get everything automated, and so I can get off the truck. And David, what you're mentioning is totally true, dude. I've been at this for a really long time, and if you keep trying to like shift money around or hide stuff, it stunts your growth. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because it is super important to document. So thanks to both of you guys.
No problem, exactly. Plus, Jim doesn't mind helping out because he's going to get a whole lot of new customers.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That's what I'm doing this. Believe me, I'm just happy to help.
I really can't wait to pick your brain. I'll get in touch later this week. I have to run, but thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. So we are going to have future financial literacy classes. They're all going to be different topics. So we have 3 more coming up, and Jim will be hosting all of them. So make sure that you attend. You're welcome to stay on and ask any questions, or you're welcome to jump off if you need to jump off and take care of family matters, work, or anything like that. But thank you, everybody, for attending. We appreciate you, and we're really excited to bring you Jim and to see you all grow.
Amen.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Questions? All right. Well, you guys are letting me off easy.
I know.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you can feel free to, like I said, share my phone number, my office number, or whatever. If people want to, even shoot me an email or give me a phone call or whatever. If you think of a question afterwards, don't hesitate to do it. I'm happy to help.
Okay. Jim, you're so nice. See, the nicest man in the world. I was being truthful when I said that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's very, very kind. Very kind. Okay, guys.